Good morning from the National Weather Service here in Raleigh, North Carolina. My name's James Morrow. I'm actually joined today by an aspiring meteorologist from the Oakwood School in Greenville, North Carolina, Hunter, who's helped me put some of this presentation together. And boy, do we have a busy, really first part of this next 7 days in the terms of severe weather this afternoon and evening. And we'll talk a lot about that, but just to kind of go over the routine process here. This is actually the Thursday weekly briefing, so I'm going to have to edit that and post-production. But this is the second, I believe, Thursday weekly briefing for Central North Carolina. This covers the period of today, October 31st, Halloween, through next Wednesday, November 6th. The purpose of these briefings are to give you an idea of what to expect over the next 7-day period and just give you a heads up. If you're tuning in later, on YouTube, I highly recommend going to weather.gov/Raleigh for the latest weather information. And that'll have the most updated information. And of course, download the latest briefing slides, and those will be continuously updated as significant weather occurs across the area. So let's move forward here and take a look at the latest visible satellite images. Here we have quite a bit of cloud cover overhead. That has kept things from warming up too drastically, although we do have strong southerly flow, and you can see this here just off the coast with some of the lower level clouds streaming in, and that has allowed us to warm up and moisten up quite a bit with dew points nearing the 70-degree mark across parts of central North Carolina. And even without the sunshine and these low-level clouds in place, we're still going to have a decent amount of instability that's going to fuel some thunderstorms as this cold front that you can see just across the mountains, the Appalachian Mountains here, as it progresses to the east. We actually had a few storms forming out ahead of this in the Greenville-Spartansburg area that has allowed for even some damaging winds with some of those stronger storms already today. So the environment's becoming primed for some strong to severe thunderstorms, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we progress through this briefing. So quick overview. The most active day is going to be today as this cold front slides from west to east across central North Carolina. That's going to spur some localized strong to severe thunderstorms that could really put a damper on the Halloween plans later on today, especially across portions of the Triad and Triangle and areas in between. Further east and maybe a little bit after Halloween time, although it looks like a dreary and spooky day out there no matter what. We'll have high pressure sitting overhead to end or as we enter into the weekend with another cold front that's going to remain mostly dry as it comes across our area. And that's going to deliver the cooler and drier temperatures that we're going to see as we progress into Sunday and into early next week with that high pressure setting up pretty firmly overhead, keeping us dry until possibly middle to late next week where we have an additional wave coming in across off the coast, and that's going to allow us to maybe increase pops or probability of precipitation values as we get into Wednesday and Thursday. But in general, the most active time period is going to be today, and you can see that with the Storm Prediction Center's severe weather outlook for Thursday, October 31st, where we have an enhanced risk. That's a 3 of 5 category risk of strong to severe thunderstorms. And that enhanced risk is going to be from the Triangle north and west, including parts of the Triad, Chapel Hill, Durham. The major population centers in central North Carolina is going to be in that enhanced risk. Further south, including parts of Fayetteville and areas kind of along the South Carolina, North Carolina border, they're going to be more in the slight risk, but that's still a 2 of 5 risk for strong to severe storms as the line of storms marches from west to east across central North Carolina later on today. So what to expect with those storms? Expect that line of storms to slide from west to east today. The timing is going to be closer to that 4 to 5 o'clock onset time across portions of the Triad region. So we're talking about a line of storms coming into Greensboro, Winston-Salem around 5 p.m. And sliding from west to east pretty quickly. The duration of any rain should be about 3 hours, no matter where you are across central North Carolina. And so expect that 5 to 8 p.m. across the Triad, more of the 7 to 9 p.m. across the Triangle, and even a couple hours later across I-95, including parts of Fayetteville there, more of that 8 to 11 o'clock time period. All of central North Carolina is in a threat as this front approaches with the strongest storms capable of producing damaging wind gusts, which we've already seen a little bit further west of our area, and possibly a short-lived and weak tornado. We're not going to see a significant tornado outbreak, but I would say especially areas from Chapel Hill east and toward the Virginia-North Carolina border, your chances of seeing maybe an isolated, a weak, and short-lived tornado quick spin up will be possible. Anytime we have a setup like we do today where these tornadoes will occur embedded within a line, they tend to be very short-lived, weak, but also very hard to get a lot of lead time for. So paying close attention to when those warnings are issued is going to be key in keeping yourself safe. And unfortunately, with the timing of this system, it's going to hit, especially across the central and western portions of the state, in peak trick-or-treating time. So we have a lot of people that have plans to be out and about and away from home in their safe areas today. And that's going to make this especially more risky. So if you have constituents you're looking out for, or even just family members or personal plans to be out and about, it's really important to have a way to get weather information at a very quick and reliable way later on this evening. Again, the threat is for a line of strong to severe thunderstorms moving across central North Carolina later this evening, damaging wind gusts, isolated tornadoes, and here's more of the timing displayed on this graphic. In terms of precipitation, the best chance of seeing some precip is actually going to be today. After today, we have high pressure settling in and very, very little in the way of precipitation chances until maybe early next week, where we have a very low-end chance of seeing a tenth to a quarter of an inch of precip across the state. Today, you can see as much, and this is really the 7-day total, you can see as much as a quarter to about an inch, with locally higher amounts, depending on where the stronger storms set up. Not looking at a huge flooding threat just because of the speed of the system and what we're expecting it to march pretty rapidly from west to east, only impacting an area for about 90 minutes to 2 hours at any given location once it does arrive. Again, we have a lot of people that are going to be out and about today, and that's going to cause some safety issues. So it's important more than now than ever to understand your severe weather hazards, especially when it comes to heavy rain, strong winds, lightning, and tornadoes. Not much of a hail threat today, just not the right environment for significant large hail. But those strong wind gusts are going to be the most widespread threat, along with maybe a localized tornado event or two. Here, just kind of covering our bases here. Tropics look quiet. Tropical season goes through the end of November, so we're still not out of the woods yet. But right now, the overall pattern does not favor tropical formation close to the United States. Most of the tropical activity remains pretty far east, well into the Atlantic Ocean. For more information, feel free to visit weather.gov/RA/tropical. Drought is also improving. We're seeing maybe one less category than we had the past couple weeks. We're abnormally dry for most of the US 1 corridor and west, with maybe some moderate drought conditions prevalent near the North Carolina and Virginia border to the north. Quick summary, and feel free to add any questions in the questions bar that you have while I go through the summary. It's a stormy Halloween expected this evening, so make sure you stay weather aware and weather ready. Cooler and drier high pressure settles in as we progress into the weekend, with even a patchy frost potential across the northwestern Piedmont Friday and Saturday nights. So for any plants that you guys have outside, you may want to have some plans to possibly cover them as we progress into the weekend. And I think your more widespread frost possibility will be Sunday night into early Monday, where temperatures, especially in the Triad region, but also here in the Triangle, are going to approach the freezing point, probably settle just above freezing, but there is going to be some frost possibilities or even a localized freezing condition or two across the area. Tropics remain quiet, and drought improvement is likely to continue slowly improving, or drought conditions are likely to continue slowly improving. So that's all I have this week. I will break away quickly just to show you one of the weather models we like paying close attention to. So as you can see the outline of North Carolina here, this is one model solution, so it doesn't mean it's going to be the correct solution, but it does a pretty good job as we evolve throughout. So I'll come here to about 4 p.m., and here around 4, we're looking at some maybe showery type activity in the warm sector here in central North Carolina. You see that with some of these little dots and higher values. Maybe a rumble of thunder in these, but the best environment is really going to be along the main forcing of the frontal system here. And that's going to arrive in the Triad region right about here. And this is showing around 6 to 7 p.m. arrival time across Winston-Salem and Greensboro. A couple hours later, it's starting to progress into Raleigh in the Greater Triangle area, and that's right around that 8 to 9 o'clock time frame. And as you progress further east to 995, we could have some rumbles of thunder in 995 corridor as late as 10, 11, even midnight tonight. However, you'll see a pretty rapidly decreasing chance of reflectivity behind this system. We're going to have some gusty winds, especially across the mountains and just east into the foothills. Right behind this front, those northwesterly winds are going to gust for a 3 to 5 hour period. And that could produce some additional tree damage in the way of fallen trees. Still looking at only wind gusts 30, 35 miles per hour, tapering down to more of that 20 mile an hour range after midnight tonight. So we'll be paying close attention to those winds. And I will go back into the PowerPoint presentation and pop up the timing graphic one more time as I begin to get some of these questions. So here's those timing issues. So let's see what I got here. Let me go ahead and stop recording.